The following public affairs presentation is produced exclusively for the Cox Channel. And now, The Verdict.
And welcome to The Verdict, Kent Myers. Once again with my co-host Robert McCampbell. So glad to have Robert back. Mick is out on the campaign trail and presumably will be back after the general election. We are pleased today to have Kevin Ward with us.
I think he's really an interesting guy and an interesting guest. I first met Kevin when I was working in law enforcement because he's head of the Highway Patrol, but he's also a cabinet member and Secretary of Safety and Security for the state of Oklahoma and has a lot of awesome responsibility for keeping our state safe.
Well, if you are old enough, you will remember Broderick Crawford in the television show The Highway Patrol. This is Oklahoma's version of Broderick Crawford. We're going to be visiting with Kevin Ward and talking about the Highway Patrol, what they do and how they do it in just a few minutes. You're watching The Verdict. We'll be right back.
At Chesapeake Energy, here's a few of our favorite Hornets. Alexis likes reading. Sam enjoys history. Alec loves math. Chesapeake is proud to support both the Oklahoma City NBA Hornets and the Young Hornets at Horace Mann Elementary, where over 150 Chesapeake employees mentor to children each week. The students gain a lot from the experience, but not as much as we do. Chesapeake Energy, committed to building a better Oklahoma.
You need this one to get satellite HD. This one's your DVR. This one's for local channels. This one's...
What are we supposed to do with all this stuff?
Got you covered. Oh, by the way, that old satellite stuff makes a great end cable.
That doesn't look so bad, right, honey?
Don't live in satellite denial. Get the latest entertainment without the hassles from Cox, your friend in the digital age.
Stuck in a rut? Move your career onto the fast track in one of the most exciting segments of the high-tech industry. The Cox Communications National Wireless Call Center for Excellence is hiring employees in Oklahoma City to specialize in wireless customer care. Management opportunities are available for people with substantial experience in the wireless industry. If you're ready to take your career to the next level, submit your resume online at www.cox.com and become a part of the Cox Tradition of Excellence.
Welcome back to The Verdict. Kent Myers and Robert McCampbell. Today we're really pleased to welcome to the show Kevin Ward. Kevin is the head of the Department of Public Safety and the Secretary of Safety and Security on the Governor's Cabinet. He's a native of Bethany, Oklahoma. He did his undergraduate work at the University of Central Oklahoma. He's been in the law enforcement career since 1979. He joined the Oklahoma Highway Patrol in 1985. And in 2004 was appointed as the Cabinet Secretary for Safety and Security. This is his first visit to The Verdict, but we certainly hope it isn't his last. Kevin, welcome. Glad to have you.
Thank you very much. It is an honor to be here.
Well, it's great to see you, Kevin, and we're going to talk about the Highway Patrol today. But before we get to that, I'd really be interested in your role as Cabinet Secretary, as Secretary of Safety and Security for the state of Oklahoma. Can you tell us about your duties and what kind of things you need to take on there?
I can. In Oklahoma, a lot of times the Cabinet Secretary also has an agency that they run, and so you wear two hats. Sometimes you're the cabinet secretary and you're an advisor to the governor, and you provide him with information so that they can make public policy decisions and things that they want to do. And then you're also the head of an agency the rest of the time. In the cabinet secretary role, I have 14 different agencies, everything from Department of Corrections to the Highway Patrol to investigations with the OSBI, the Bureau of Narcotics, Attorney General's office falls in there. And so you have all those different agencies, and you try to keep in contact with those agencies and keep in touch with what's going on, what are the trends, what's occurring. As an example, in 2004, we passed a bill, the legislature passed a bill, the governor signed it, House Bill 2176 on methamphetamine. We had these mom and pop shops that had methamphetamine. They were cooking on the sides of roads. They were cooking in apartments and in trailers. It's an explosive situation, these methamphetamine labs. And in the last 3 of the 4 of our highway patrolmen that had been killed were methamphetamine related. And so the Bureau of Narcotics came up with this idea about, the one ingredient in that recipe for manufacturing methamphetamine is pseudoephedrine. And if there's some way that we could control that, then maybe we can put a curb on this. And so the Bureau of Narcotics got with the governor's office and got with me and some legislators, pitched the idea, and we ran with it. The governor liked it, he supported it, got representation on both the House and the Senate, and moved forward with it. And we were the first state in the nation to get this bill passed that regulated the sale of pseudoephedrine. You couldn't just buy it off the shelf anymore. You had to get it over the counter, and that your name was recorded. You were only allowed to buy so much per month, and we have put almost a stop to the mom and pop shop of manufacturing methamphetamine in Oklahoma because of that.
What can you tell us about the results from that pseudoephedrine program?
What we found was that prior to this law going into effect, that there were approximately about 120 labs a month that were being taken down by law enforcement, and that those labs were being turned in to be destroyed at OSBI. After the law took effect, we had a dramatic reduction to where now we're down to about 5 labs a month. It has been a remarkable success in Oklahoma, to the point that other states copied our legislation and passed it at the state level, and the federal government modeled Oklahoma's law for federal legislation to deal with that issue. And so we've had great success in terms of those mom and pop shops. Now, methamphetamine hasn't gone away. It's still an issue in Oklahoma and in this country because it's now being imported, mostly from the south, coming up through Mexico and into the country, and so we're now targeting that. But that was just one example of things that we do that I'm involved in as a cabinet secretary to help facilitate ideas that makes this state safer in terms of safety and security, whether it be corrections or law enforcement or those entities.
I can't imagine any idea having a greater personal effect on Oklahomans than the one you just told us about. It seems to me that has the chance of improving the lives not only of the people who are involved in the meth trade, but those who are affected by those who are involved in the trade.
We were finding in law enforcement that almost everybody was being touched by it. They had family members, they had close friends, and it was one of those drugs that once you took it, the addiction rate is extremely high, and it is so difficult to get off of, and that you could see them begin to spiral downward to where they were a productive citizen before, and in a short amount of time began to commit crimes to be able to fund that addiction that they had. They were making poor decisions. In fact, it brought on a psychosis that they were seeing things that weren't really there, and it's having a dramatic effect on almost every Oklahoman, whether they were addicted or know somebody, and so it has made a big difference in that regard.
The Department of Public Safety has a lot of ongoing programs, I'm sure. I'm not talking about the Highway Patrol, but I'm talking about other things. Can you tell us about a few of those?
I can. The Department of Public Safety is kind of the umbrella agency for things like Highway Patrol, driver's licensing, etc. The Highway Patrol is the law enforcement component of the Department of Public Safety, and we'll talk about that.
And that's your background?
Yes, sir. I came up through the Highway Patrol. But we have other things that we do. As an example, driver's license testing. Anyone who gets a license in Oklahoma has to see the Department of Public Safety, and we examine them both in written form and a skills test to ensure that they're going to be a safe driver.
Anyone getting a license, including my daughter a few weeks ago.
Absolutely. Well, I hope it was successful.
And it went well.
Absolutely. We also have other programs like driver improvement. those are for individuals that either they've been drinking and driving and they were arrested, or they have some poor driving habits. Maybe they've received too many tickets or something to that effect. And so we counsel them and provide some education or direct them to areas where they can get some courses to help improve their driving habits. We have a financial responsibility division. That division deals with individuals who don't have insurance when they're driving their car and then they're involved in an accident. And there's two ways that you'll encounter us in that. Either you're involved in an accident and you don't have insurance, or law enforcement contacts you and you don't have insurance, and we get notice of that. Then we move forward to suspend your license until you get insurance, and then there's some reinstatement fees and things like that. But what we're trying to do is ensure that you're insured if you're driving a car in Oklahoma through that division there. Homeland Security is kind of a component of the Department of Public Safety. It is an office that was created by the legislature after 9/11. And what the law says is that the governor will designate the agency that should be put into. And there wasn't a lot of funding that came with that. And so the governor had to look at an agency that had some resources that could support that. Governor Henry chose the Department of Public Safety to put that into. And so they're a component of DPS. We provide them with some support, both personnel and logistics. We have facilities that they operate in. And currently the Director of Homeland Security, who is a governor appointee, is a lieutenant colonel with the Oklahoma Highway Patrol who heads that up. And we have several employees that work in the Homeland Security Office from different disciplines: law enforcement, firefighting, EMS, et cetera. And so we try to bring a wide variety of perspectives into that so that we have the whole package, if you will, providing Homeland Security from prevention to intervention to mitigation should there be some kind of a terrorist attack occur in Oklahoma. And it also helps not just in a criminal perspective in terms of terrorism, but we have tornadoes and we have floods and we have natural disasters in Oklahoma that the kinds of preparations that we do in Homeland Security are helping us to mitigate those kinds of catastrophes when they occur too.
Kevin, I'm going to have to jump in here and get us to our first break. We're visiting with Kevin Ward, the head of Department of Public Safety and the Commissioner on Safety and Security on the Governor's Cabinet. You're watching The Verdict with Kent Myers and Robert McCampbell.
The Journal-Record is pleased to be a sponsor of The Verdict. The Journal-Record, since 1903, the best source of Oklahoma business news and legal information. Wilsey, Meyer, Eatman, Tate. We're accountants. We do taxes, business valuations, estate planning, and consulting. And we're right here in Oklahoma, working with the owners of small and medium-sized businesses. Steve Wilsey and Stuart Meyer have the resources and the experience. Wilsey, Meyer, Eatman, Tate in Oklahoma City and Tulsa.
That land next door was a mess. Take more than a lawnmower to revive that land. I heard the oil and natural gas people was cleaning up old oil sites, and it wouldn't cost us a plug nickel. Oh yes, sir, it was quite a revival. The whole church showed up, want to make a playground for the kids. It sure is a blessing.
All children deserve a life of hope and love, but sometimes they experience a life of pain, neglect, and abuse.
When that happens, each child deserves all the quality assistance and representation that can be offered in our legal system. For more information, call 23-CHILD.
Oklahoma Lawyers for Children, helping to bring hope and love back to the lives of abused children.
Hi, honey. You've got to check this out.
What? What are we listening to?
I had digital phone service installed today.
It sounds just like before.
I know, but it's going to save us a ton of money.
With Cox Digital Telephone, you'll save big every month. Keep your same phone number and get your favorite calling features. Just pay less.
That does sound good.
You should hear the upstairs phone.
I'm Chris Paul. And I'm Dave Lyall with some of our friends from the Boys and Girls Clubs in Oklahoma. Growing up is tough. Everyone needs a fun and safe place to learn and grow.
Boys and Girls Clubs offer programs that instill a sense of pride, purpose, and belonging. club kids have grown up to become movie stars and, yes, even basketball legends.
We hope you'll join Cox, Oklahoma in supporting the Boys and Girls Club.
Get involved with your local club today because it truly is
a positive place for kids.
Welcome back to The Verdict. Kent Myers with Robert McCampbell, visiting with Kevin Ward. And let's do what we entitled this show about, the Highway Patrol. Let's talk about the Highway Patrol. Tell us, of course, your career started in the Highway Patrol. Tell us what's involved about becoming a member. How does one become a patrolman?
Well, you make application. We try to have a school a year whenever we can get funding to do that. You make application, and then there's a lengthy process. We have a written test and an oral board and physical agility. We do an extensive background investigation. There's a medical review, a polygraph, a psychological review, and it takes us about 10 months from the time we start the application process until we can get a school commenced, because it is so in-depth to get that done. We try to, on applicants, get those testing things done in as few a days as we can. We may take 2 or 3 days to get those done, but a lot of times we have 900 applicants or so, and so it takes a long time to work through that process to get down to about that 60 or 65 that we want to start an academy with.
You go from 900 to 60 or 65?
Yes, we do.
Do you have age restrictions or height, weight restrictions, any kind of physical or chronological restrictions?
Yeah, the minimum age is 21 years and the maximum age is 43. You cannot have reached your 43rd birthday by the start of the academy.
You're still eligible, Robert.
I wish.
I'm not. Go ahead.
We also have to have a minimum of 62 hours of college or an associate's degree equivalent. They have to be a United States citizen, good moral character, background, and those kinds of things that are conducive to law enforcement.
No height, weight restrictions?
No, we used to up until the late 70s, and the courts ruled a little unconstitutional, so height in proportion to weight.
Let's talk about the manpower you've got now. Tell us about the troopers you have on the road, and talk some about the challenges of trying to cover a state our size from one corner to another.
We at the height of the number of troopers that we have is about 825. We are currently at 777. In fact, May 31st, just a couple of months ago, we had 44 troopers, including the chief on down, who had retired in one day. And so that we took a big hit in terms of our manpower out there. We currently have a patrol academy that's going on now. We have one that will be commencing next March, and so we're hoping that that will help get our numbers up. But the real challenge is we have 77 counties, and we have all of the highways that we have to patrol. We have exclusive jurisdiction on the turnpikes. We have primary responsibilities on the interstate system, and then any state highway outside of a corporate municipal city limits, then we have the responsibility for the accident investigation, not only on those highways, but on all of those county roads. And so we have some counties in our rural parts of the state that aren't populated to high levels, that we don't necessarily have 24-hour coverage. In fact, there are times that we may have to have a trooper from another adjoining county go cover that county if there's been an accident or an incident in which we're responding to. And so it is a challenge to have enough troopers out there to be able to cover that. We also don't have 24-hour coverage in some of our counties, and so troopers are subject to call at the end of the shift. They may, if an accident occurs at say 1 in the morning, they may get called out of bed and have to respond to that. And so it is difficult when you have that number of troopers spread out over 77 counties with the diverse amount of work that we do, because we don't just do traffic enforcement in the patrol. We have a few other things that we do, and so when you spread that out, it's pretty thin.
Well, you were reading my mind. I was going to ask you next, all of the citizens are aware that the highway patrolman may stop them for driving improperly, having defective equipment or otherwise, but I know the highway patrol has other duties. Can you fill our viewers in on what those are?
Well, we do. Our primary mission is traffic enforcement on the highway, but we have other things that we do. You know, one of the things, in fact, one of the first things that I did when I came on the Department of Public Safety was executive security. The Highway Patrol and Department of Public Safety is in charge of providing security for the governor and his immediate family, the lieutenant governor, the mansion and the grounds pertinent to the mansion, and then we also have responsibility for all of the state buildings in Oklahoma, the Capitol, the Sequoia building, the Tulsa office building. We're in charge of that. And so it takes a lot of manpower to take care of all of those entities, those buildings that we have to do there. And of course, after 9/11, we had to ramp up with even more people because we had to tighten down security. The world has changed dramatically since 9/11, and we've had to do those kinds of things. But we also have what used to be the Lake Patrol. We are in charge of the state lakes in Oklahoma. We provide the patrolling and the enforcement on state lakes, whether you're in Texoma or Eufaula or any of those lakes in Oklahoma, the ones out west, Foss Lake, out there. And so we also do that. We have an aircraft division, and so while their primary mission is to support that ground trooper out there doing the road, they're also very vital in manhunts and lost persons, and sometimes we used to, when I came on, I used to call blood runs, where you would need to emergency pick up blood or vital organs and have to rush them into Oklahoma City or to its destination. Very dangerous because you're usually exceeding the speed limit trying to get it there in time. And so what we've been able to do with our aircraft division, and we've got a couple of helicopters that assist us, we now transport that stuff by air. And so not only are we getting there faster, we're doing that safer. We've also got, I'd mentioned earlier, all the turnpikes. We have a bomb squad. In Oklahoma, the Highway Patrol is the state agency responsible for responding to bombing type incidences or explosive incidents. We have about 300 calls a year that we get from law enforcement who come across an explosive device and they need to have that rendered safe to we've had folks find in their shed that maybe when their grandfather passed away, some old World War II kinds of things, some shells or grenades, and they don't know if they're inert or not. And so we respond to those kinds of things. And so pretty diverse things that they do. We have a tactical team on the Highway Patrol, not full-time. These are troopers who are trained that when an event occurs, whether it be a prison riot or a manhunt or something like that, they have additional training and weapons and equipment that they can respond and be much more effective out, usually in our case, out in a rural area where we're in trees and those kinds of things, and they've been very effective. We also do driver's license fraud. We investigate fraud or anything related to, any crime related to a driver's license. You know, a lot of the things that we've dealt with in the past have been those kids that weren't old enough to drink, but they were trying to make themselves old enough, and so we deal a lot of that. But we also have people that are trying to get a fake license so that they can commit crimes. A lot of fraudulent crimes where they're trying to take undue advantage financially of people. And one of the good things that we did in Oklahoma was we went to a digital driver's license system. And now we have their picture on file. We didn't have that with a film-based system. And so when individuals come in for their driver's license, you can pull their picture up to ensure that is who they say they are. And that has helped tremendously in cutting down on the fraud when people are using a driver's license to do that. So we have a lot of facets within the department that we do that aren't just directly related to traffic enforcement.
Talk to me about when a person comes into the Highway Patrol and they're going to go through training to become a road trooper, what kind of special training does that person get?
We have a 16-week academy, and it's a live-in academy. It's operated much like what the military does. When you check in that day, you'll stay there until you graduate. You get up about 4:30 in the morning. We have physical training in the morning. Then you have your rooms are picked up. You have inspection. You have breakfast, and then you're in the classroom by 8 o'clock. And we have classroom instruction, whether it be bookwork or hands-on with firearms or emergency vehicle operations courses or those kinds of things. And that goes on throughout the day, even past dinner time. We have classes up and through the night. We may have some exercises that we have them do, and they live that life for 16 weeks. We have found that a lot of times, because we are a rural enforcement agency, that our troopers are out there by themselves, and so we create an environment that they can defend themselves. We want to prepare them to be out there by themselves. I know when I went through the Patrol Academy, I didn't have prior military experience, and what this training does for the patrol is it lets you know just how far you can go, if you will, and know what your limitations are.
Kevin, excuse me, we're going to have to interrupt, but let me ask you, just on camera here, would you be willing to come back and do a show specifically on the Academy and maybe bring the Commandant or something with you?
Absolutely, I would love to.
Thank you so much for coming. I'm sorry we're out of time. We've been visiting with Kevin Ward, the head of the Department of Public Safety and the Commissioner of Safety and Security for Oklahoma. You're watching The Verdict. I'm Kent Myers with Robert McCampbell. We'll be right back.
The good life comes naturally to Tulsa, where nature's beauty is matched with an eye for aesthetics. A legacy of neighborhoods graced with lawns and landscaping and handsome homes. A place that seems to have patented an ideal lifestyle. Bank First is loyal to the quality of life Tulsa assures its citizens, to the priority placed on education, culture, and growth. Loyal to builders who transform raw land into residential charm. Developers who see opportunity and add vitality to Tulsa's economy. Bank First serves both enterprise and private lives that need a loyal partner. It's how we help nurture this city's very good life. Bank First. Loyal to Oklahoma. Loyal to you.
Oh, hi. I know you guys said I'd save with Cox Digital Telephone. Well, my bill came and... Could this be right?
You may be surprised how much you save with Cox Digital Telephone. That's why over 1.5 million people have switched.
So this really is a total? Lovely. Because I think I found a good use for the savings.
With Cox, there's no waiting for the other shoe to drop. The only surprise is there's no surprise at all.
Not sure where you're headed? NATS can help you find your way. It's the National Athletic Testing System. We call it NATS. You'll call it your launching pad to success. NATS will give you a standardized evaluation that will help you measure your performance and give that information to college coaches so they can accurately evaluate your potential. NATS also helps with academic support. Join with the Oklahoma High School Football Coaches Association and head for success at www.nats.us.
Welcome back. Kent Myers with Robert McCampbell. Good guest, good show.
It was a good show, and as Kevin Ward mentioned, they are looking for new recruits to be troopers right now. So the application deadline is September 30th. Everybody interested can apply, and you can find the application on the website.
And speaking of websites, let's talk about the Department of Public Safety's website. It's www.dps.state.ok.us. And in addition to that, as always, we hope you'll come on the Verdict website, theverdict.tv, and let us know what you'd like to see. Robert, let's schedule another show with Kevin and talk about that academy.
I think it'd be really interesting. There's interesting things going on out there.
I think it would be. Well, for Robert McCampbell, I'm Kent Myers. Thanks for watching this week, and we'll see you next week.
The preceding program was produced by the Production Services Group at Cox Communications, exclusively for the Cox Channel.